David was in front of the mirror looking at the makeup kit he was holding in his hand.
This is crazy.
He spoke to himself. His wife, Sarah, had been complaining of the burden of carrying the pregnancy, and David wished to know why. He sat still for a moment, and then said to himself,
If I am going to really support her, I have to know how it feels like.
Taking a deep breath, he began to put on makeup. He said to himself,
I can do this.
even though he was not quite certain his determination would last. Sitting on the couch, Sarah watched David, and her hand lay on her belly, which was growing bigger each day.
Do you really believe that it is wise to go ahead with it?
She said this with a half-laughing, half-serious tone. She could not help but watch him as he tried to do something with the makeup.
Well, I appreciate that you want to know what I am currently going through, but are you prepared for this?
She giggled softly, looking at him, making sure he did not mind, as she was aware this was going to take a long time. When the makeup was gradually applied, David felt a certain transformation, as if he was a different person. His face became tender as the brush touched his face, making his features look more refined.
Wow.
He murmured, staring at the mirror. It was not only about the change of appearance, there was something about it that made him feel naked, and he felt that he was seeing Sarah in a way he hadn't before.
This is harder than I thought.
He said to himself, beginning to get a sense of the magnitude of her existence. Sarah shook her head, grinning.
You are really doing this?
She asked him, her tone filled with humor. She looked at David, now looking more and more like her every day. She was glad that she had come to the house.
You are really trying to know how much effort this is.
In that moment, she had a feeling of tenderness towards him. It was not only the housework or the makeup to which she was referring, but his ability to help with the load, even in such an untraditional manner.
You are sweet, but I believe you are getting the taste of real challenge.
Day turned to night, and David continued to work. He prepared dinner, washed the dishes, and even tried to do yoga, and looked rather silly in the process.
This is insane.
He chuckled as he bent over to pick up a towel. He was exhausted. Each tiny thing that earlier Sarah could accomplish without a second thought had become a challenge.
I was not aware of how much she did every day.
With every step, he was learning more and more about her strength. Sarah looked at David. She was sure that she understood him.
I told you.
She said with a certain measure of pride. She could notice that the change was not only external, it had turned something inside of him.
You are seeing it, are you not?
She whispered. Thus it is not only about the chores, it is about this endless drive to continue, to be concerned. That's motherhood. For a moment, she felt the warmth in her heart, as now David was having a small glimpse of her world. David decided to continue with the change with more vigor.
All right, I believe I am finally beginning to understand.
He said, his tone a little more cheerful. He cooked breakfast that morning, and for the first time, it was not just about preparing food, but something more. He looked thoughtful as he began to clean the counter.
It's the small things that make a difference.
What he came to understand was that his wife was a mother, and motherhood did not end when she left the workplace, but was a continuous process of nurturing, tolerating, and giving. Sarah looked at him from the sofa, and she was more fascinated by him than ever.
You're actually doing it, David. I didn't think you could.
The tone of her voice was one of admiration and disbelief. She never thought that he would go to the extent of fully taking up her responsibilities of cooking, cleaning, and even attempting to rest while pregnant.
I'm proud of you.
She said quietly, and there was a gentle curve to her lips.
You have convinced me of something today.
The day came when Sarah went into labor, and David was there by her side. He held her hand tightly as the pain began. When they were running to the hospital, David came back to his normal self.
Yes, it is happening.
He whispered, and he sighed with relief and warmth. But the affection between him and Sarah stronger than ever. When Sarah gave birth to their baby, David was standing right by her side, feeling a great amount of amazement. He had felt her pain, observed her fight, and appreciated her resilience. He looked at the baby, and for the first time, he felt the appreciation of the journey they both had been through.
Thank you, Sarah.
He whispered in a choked voice.
I will support you now more than ever.
He moved closer to her, his affection for her stronger than it has ever been before, realizing that they are now truly companions in every respect of the word. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe.